it right there. Where are you scrolling to? You know, say wetin I wan teach you evidence choke. E choke say love and dollar sabi when it comes to gown matter. And you wan scroll. Come on, watch this video to the end. You know, that's just for play and just to gain your attention. If you like what you're seeing right here, I made it myself, and I'm going to teach you. So if you want to learn how to make something like this, make sure you stick to the end. Like the end, though. The end. Don't be saying you watch halfway, they come out. You see, you know how many days. Okay, let me calm down. Let me calm down. So make sure you watch this video to the end, and when you're done watching, ensure to subscribe. Smash that subscribe button, please like, and leave a comment. I'm begging you, please. Thank you. I'm going to put this dress on while I teach you the measurements that you need. Okay, it's normal body measurement, but it's just the up here that is different. And if you watch to the tutorial part, you'll get what I'm talking about. And don't rush through it too. Don't rush through this tutorial. Don't be saying you don't get time, you come the next. Every part of this tutorial is very important. That's why I just okay. So you're going to place your tape right here, and you're going to measure how long you want it to be. So this one I have 3.5 exact. I know you cannot see it. I got a new tape. Right, 3.5. So when I had the normal neck depth to it, which is 3 inches, I'm going to get 6.5. So the next measurement is you're going to get from that point that you know mine stopped at this point. So I'm just going to be starting from this point also, and I'm going to measure down to where I want it to be, to my under bust. And one thing you should notice is that make sure that your under bust is tight. Okay, because I use the bra to measure mine. So if you have big breasts and you don't want to use a bra, so you just make sure that it's like exactly on your under bust, so that when you sew it, it will pack them very well. So if you are using a bra, make sure you wear the bra that you intend on using to wear the gown. So I'm just going to place it here, okay, on my chest line. That's the neck depth where it got to. I'm just going to place it here, and I'll get my under bust. My under bust for this is exactly 6 inches. So that's the measurement that I'm going to be using. You'll find it out all in when I'm drafting the pattern. Bye people, I love you so much. I have drawn my shoulder line and my vertical line already. So the next thing for me to do is to mark my vertical point. I placed my tape on my shoulder line, I marked my bust point, I marked my under bust point, and I marked my full length, which is 16.5. That is what I want the length of this upper bodice to be. So I'll go over to the other side and mark the same thing. Basically, yeah, what I'm doing is exactly what you will do on a basic bodice pattern, but follow along for alterations and other things I might make because of the kind of gown that I want to sew. So I just went ahead and rolled a straight line across those points with my roller. I'm using a pencil because I'm not going to be working with this under bust. I'll be using the measurements I took earlier where I measured my chest line or neckline to my under bust. Don't worry, don't be confused. Just keep watching. You're going to understand this tutorial. It's very easy and very simple to understand. I'll come up to the shoulder line and mark a basic neckline, which is 3 inches for the neck depth and 3 inches for the neck width. So after marking that, I'm just going to draw a cube around that so that it's going to act as a guide for me to draw my neck curve like this. The next thing to do after that is to impute your shoulder measurements on your shoulders. That is your shoulder divided by 2. Mine was 14 divided by 2 will give me 7. I just placed it right there, and I went down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and then I connected it to the neckline like this. I just used my marker to highlight my neckline so that everything will be clear. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure my armhole length. You should know how this goes. Your armhole length is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. My bust was 31. 31 divided by 6 plus 1.5 would give me that is 6 and half and quarter, something like that. So I'm just going to connect it with a straight line, and at the end of the armhole length I'm just going to extend it out, which is now going to be my chest line. Another method I see people use to get their chest line is to go up on their bust point by 2 inches. The difference between the two methods is not much, but just check the one that works for you and stick to that method. Now I'm going to find the center of my armhole length. I'll go out on that point by half of an inch. I'll extend it out with my pencil for clarity, and I'll connect the curves together like this. To enable me draft my armhole curve, I'm going to get my bust measurement divided by 4. 31 divided by 4 will give you 7.75. I'll just mark it there, and then I'll add 1 inch stitching allowance to it. Now that I'm done with that, I'm going to connect from my shoulder slope to meet the half inch I went in by, and down to my bust circumference measurement. When I was done with this curve, I said to myself, this doesn't look like a curve that I admire. So I just cleaned it up and make sure that I removed that pointy part of my curve. And after that, I just highlighted it with my marker, and I blended it into the chest line like this. Now that I'm done with that, I'm going to be imputing my vertical measurement. My bust circumference divided by 4 will give me 7.75. I'm just going to place it right there on my chest line. I'll go to my bust point and still impute the same thing, 7.75. On the waistline, I'm going to impute my waist measurement divided by 4, which gave me 6.5. I'm going to add back 1 inch for my dart intake so that when I sew my dart, I'll still retain my 6.5 for my waist measurement. Now I'm just going to connect from my chest line to my bust point. Then from my bust point, I'll connect it to my waistline before connecting it to the allowance that I gave for my dart. I'm just going to highlight the parts that I'll be cutting out with my marker so that it will be more clear. The next thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to be measuring my dart, which my nipple to nipple measurement is 7 divided by 2 will give me 3.5. I marked it on my waistline, and I went ahead to mark it on my bust point. With my ruler, I just connected those points in a straight line. After doing that, I went out on each side on the waistline by half of an inch. You should know how this goes already. So after that, I connected it to the bust point, and that was it for the front dart. Moving on to the next stage is creating the backs effect on the center front waistline. So on the center front waistline, I went down by 4 inches. That is going to be the length of my backs effect. And I could just use my ruler to connect from the 4 inches I went down by to my waistline on the other side. You know what I always say here? If you can't understand what I'm saying, you'll definitely understand what I'm doing. So watch closely. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is to also extend my dart. I went in by 3.5 and I connected it to the half inch I've already given on the waistline, just the way you see me do. Watch closely. I promise you that this is really simple. So the next thing I want to do is just to highlight my backs effect so that you'll be able to see it more clearly. This is the part that we have all been waiting for, the main part of this whole tutorial, how to draft the cup. You know the measurements we took at the beginning of this video, we are going to be implementing it now. The 3.5 inches I got when I measured from my neck to my chest line, I'm going to be putting it right there. And when I had the 3.3 inches I got from my regular neck, it's all amounted to 6.5. So I'm just going to roll a straight line across that point. So I'm going to tag this my new neckline because that is the neckline that I'm going to be using. I'll just extend it out. Now I'll place my tape on my new neckline to get the underbust that I got originally. You know the underbust I got was 6 inches. I'm just going to place my tape on my new neckline and measure 6 inches, which is now going to be my new underbust. Now for this underbust, I'm going to be using a marker for it because this is what I am going to be working with and this is what I want you to see. I'm going to label it underbust. Now the underbust down below, ignore it now. Ignore it at this point. If you look closely on the cup, you will see that it went in on the center front. So I'm going to go up from that underbust by 1.5, and then on the chest line, that is on the armhole, I'm going to also go in by 1.5. I'm going to extend my chest line inwards so that I'll see what I'm doing. Please and please don't get confused by the lines. That's why I'm trying to label it as much as I can. On the point you went up by 1.5 inch, begin your curve from there. Make sure it touch the underbust line once you get to the dart side. Curve it in a way that is going to meet the point at the armhole curve and extend it to your new neckline. I want you to know that the measurements for our neckline and the depth of our sweetheart neckline is all subjective, is dependent on you and how deep you want it to be. From the picture, we can see that the cup wants to have a sweetheart neck. So we are not going to draw it straight. We are not going to draw this cup straight. We are going to slant it into the chest line, just like you see me do. So when I was done with all my curvings, I just used my ruler. I extended it out so that I would have my armhole curve, and I connected the necessary parts. So I went ahead to label my patterns for what they are. I labeled my upper part the cup, and I labeled the lower part as the back so that I'm not going to get confused and I will know each for what they are. So I'm going to go ahead now to add allowance to the side. I added 1 inch to the side for my stitching allowance, and on the bottom part, that is the backs area, I added half of an inch, but when I measured it, I discovered that it was more than half of an inch. So it's time for me to cut, but before then I'm just going to label my neck depth so that you would get what the line is all about. And when you are cutting, endeavor to cut the cup out first before cutting the rest of the pattern paper. So watch me closely as I cut it. This is what yours should look like. This is what I had when I was done. So I went ahead to label my center front and my side front. I'm going to be using the front pattern as a guide to cut my back pattern. The back pattern is the same thing as the front, but without the cup and without the back effect in front. So I made some changes at the armhole. You remember originally when I was cutting it, it was straight, but I had to make sure it's in a slant now because it's an armhole, and I want it to be free at the armhole side. Now I'm going to cut it off with my scissors. Then I'll set it aside. I'll set the front pattern aside while I work on my back pattern. On my neckline at the center back, I went down by 1 inch so that I can make a curve from the side neckline to the center back neckline so that it's going to have this style when I sew it at the back. Now I'm just going to label my back pattern, the side back and the center back and the side back. For the back, there is no need to add any inches for zipper allowance, and there is also no need to subtract anything from the back because yes, we are using loops, but the loops are going to be it's closed loops, not open loops. Although there'll be an invisible zipper at the sides so that wearing it would be easy for us. So this is what I have, the front pattern and the back pattern. This is my second day making this tutorial. At this point, I already know that this particular project is going to take me time. This is a sneak peek of me in my orientation camp. I look cute, don't I? Now let's proceed to the tutorial. What I'm doing here is I'm measuring the total breadth of my cup. Now I have 6.5. Now I want to divide them by 3 because I want to be slashing my cup into 3. 6.5 divided by 3, I just went ahead to use 2.2 for each section. So after measuring that, I just went ahead to use a ruler to mark those points upwards. For direction purpose, I just want to label each section 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm going to be slashing them. This is why it's called slash and spread method. This is the slashing part, and the spreading part is this, where we are going to be spreading them on a piece of paper. I'm using a different colored pattern paper for this. I just went ahead to roll a straight line across my pattern paper. This is so that I'm going to get direction on how I'll place them, because there's already a straight line on my original cup. So I'll just place that straight line exactly on the straight line I have on my pattern paper so that it will be well arranged. Now after that, I'll just pin it down. You can use a pin for this, you can use a sellotape, but I prefer a sellotape. At this point, I didn't have a sellotape. I just spread them with a distance of 1.5 because I want it to be gathered reasonably. I just want a reasonable gathering, not just gathering maybe say you go gather and you know they see them. Okay, so I just spread it with 1.5. You can choose to do yours less different depending on how gathered you want your cup to be. And after that, I traced them out on my new pattern paper with my marker. I removed my pins and then I connected them together just the way you are seeing me do on the screen. I just went ahead to label it cup, and I cut along the cup with half-inch allowance for my stitch seam, my stitching seam. I hope you get what I am saying.